Wish I could rewind, but we'll rewind when we get a little further up. So with my 4, I keep adding 1 as I go to the right, and then when I start with my vertex, I subtract 1 for my x's going to the left. Now, do I want to have to do all this, put all these numbers into there? No. But guess what? I don't have to. Because here's how this is going to work. So whenever I get to one of these, I'm going to go to y equals. And I'm going to type in what I see here. So I've got -2 x minus 4 squared plus 2. And I want to make sure that what I see here and what I see with my finger here is exactly the same. Because if I mess up anything, that's going to screw this up. Okay, so once I do this, to get my y values, to finish my chart, I'm going to hit second, and I'm going to hit graph. Because as we've mentioned before, what that does is that brings up this chart. Now when the chart comes up, I really want this middle number, my vertex, to be in the middle. And here's how I can tell. I see 4, 2. Okay, I got 4, 2. But again, notice the numbers around it. 0, 0. -6, -6. They should be symmetrical. They should be the same as I'm looking through. If I don't have my vertex in the middle, let's say it was like this, and I'm looking in the middle, I'm like, oh yeah, -30 and no, they're not the same. So knowing the vertex, okay, knowing that x value and having that in the middle helps me out immensely. Because now I can say, oh, so my value at 5 is 0. My value at 6 is -6. Yes, sir.
Can we go to that one guy? I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to take this. Number 24. Is this already one, sir?
So once I get, uh-huh.
All right, my go-to.
That's okay. So once I get this set,
Yeah.
I'm going to plot my points. Now here's how this works. My vertex tells me where the middle's going to be. These other ones, 3, 0, and 5, 0, and 2, -6, because again, when I have a y, it goes down.
Go to it already.
Okay. Right 6 and down 6. Okay, and I'll get this curve shape, this kind of U or V shape out of there, this parabola. And I could find out all sorts of things from this. Like for instance, I could notice if I was asked, do I have a maximum or a minimum? Well, here I would know I had a maximum because again, it's at the top of my graph. It's the highest value that's there. If my value went more like a U, it would be a minimum instead. So let's just say, I'm going to skip past number 2 for a minute. Come down here to number 3. That's right. So when I come down here, again, my vertex is always the first thing I want to find. And again, it's always the opposite of what I see in the parentheses. So that looks like -2, so that'd be positive. And that's +1, so I'd keep that the way it is. And if I want to, I could plot that point first. So I go right 2 and up 1. And again, as far as the chart goes, I always am a fan of drawing it out, even though it's on the calculator, just because if I go to look back at it later, I can know what my values were. So I'll put my vertex in the middle. And again, I'm just going to go to the calculator, get my y equals back up there, clear it out, and I'm just going to retype what I see. And once I make sure I've got everything lined up and looking good, now again, I look at this and I'm like, well, this doesn't look symmetric. 2 and 10 and 1 and, yeah, that's not, oh, that's right. I got to get to where x is 2 in the middle. So I move it, okay, now 2 is in the middle. There's 2, 1, okay. And now again, I got 2 and 2, 5 and 5, 10 and 10. So I know I'm in the right spot. So let me get my other x's jotted down. So 0, let's see here. 0, my y value is 5. 1, my y value is 2. 3 is 2. And 4 is 5, because again, I always should have the same numbers going out to the left and to the right. So once I get those set, I'm going to go ahead and plot those. So 0, 5, again, my x is 0. I don't move left or right at all. Y, I go up 5. I got 1, 2. Right 3 and up 2. And right 4 and up 5. And again, I should be able to make a U or V type shape out of that when I get done. And right, this time if I was being asked for a maximum or a minimum, this time I would have a minimum because my vertex is at the bottom of my graph. So basically what we're up against here is just working through the process of kind of getting used to this. Now I want to find one more that's going to be a little bit different. Okay, I'm going to flip over here. Let's flip over to number 6. And take a look. Okay. So here, my vertex, the opposite of -1 is +1. And again, I don't do the opposite on my y value. So that'd be -4 in this case. So I look and I go, okay, so right 1 and down 4. So that's my first point. So I know that number is going to be in the middle of my chart. So scooch that over a little more. So 1, -4. And again, for my x's, I'm looking for values that I'm adding 1 each time, going to the right, and subtracting 1 each time, going to the left. And again, instead of having to plug all these in, and I could, okay, but again, that's why we kind of give ourselves some extra time to work on these in class, so we can make life a little easier on ourselves. So let's see, negative x minus 1 squared minus 4. Okay, looking good. Yep. Second graph. Now let's see. Doesn't quite look symmetrical yet because I'm seeing some oddball. No, oh yeah, 1's got to be in the middle. There we go. Once we get 1 in the middle, then we're in pretty good shape. So I go back and I just start copying. So 0, -5. 2 is also -5. And then -1 is at -8. And so is 3. And I'm just going to plot. So left 1, down 8. 0, -5. 2, -5. And right 3, down 8. And draw that in. My vertex is at the top. So that would end up being a maximum. Okay. And that's what I'm up to on this sheet. That's our whole thing with vertex form. Find that vertex, and then just go ahead and use that to help me plug it in and get the chart and kind of work my numbers off of that. Now, like I said, tomorrow we'll work together through kind of a review of sorts, getting us ready and kind of seeing where we're at with these. And then Thursday we'll do a little bit of a quiz just to make sure things are going okay before we start heading towards absolute value equations.